Greetings ADD warmongering nation. Nelson with David Rockefeller put together the Council on Foreign Relations.
This secrecy is disturbing because the membership roster is so comprehensive. It reads like a who's who of the American elite. Consider that John McCain, Hillary Clinton, and Barack Obama are all members of the CFR.
And put in the World Trade Center, which became a CIA base and linchpinned the trilateral Rockefeller Saudi oil and Big Pharma run of war with 7 countries we're still fighting. Nelson Rockefeller used the National Guard to gun down over 100 people in a prison, the subject of John Lennon's Attica State. But Hollywood only paints the more minor controversy of Nelson Rockefeller destroying Diego Rivera's mural. But he is the kind of dick that only war criminal Kissinger could eulogize.
Evoked by his last great battle. His gruff pose of never paying attention to media comment would have been contradicted by a warm glow and the ever so subtle hint that another recital of the commentary would not be.
But as director of the CIA and the Fourth Amendment Council, he killed the Fourth Amendment, a condition which has continued to rob our privacy in cyberspace and in real life.
Viewing pleasure. Going down. Supreme Court rules 8-1. Citizens have no protection against Fourth Amendment violations by police ignorant of the law.
Nelson Rockefeller caused the New York economic crisis, turning it into the crime and poverty problems of today.
The brink of fiscal crisis and was about to default on his debt and file for bankruptcy. It would have been the largest municipal bankruptcy in American history at that time. They were forced to, at that point, ask President Gerald Ford to bail them out. He declined and created this famous headline for the city to drop dead. The city didn't drop dead, but it was put on life support. And during that period, the social services, the public health, and really the vitality of some of the most vulnerable communities truly suffered.
But he was vice president of domestic policy when Ford told them to drop dead, and Nelson Rockefeller himself responded to New Yorkers booing him with raised middle fingers. He hated the black and anti-war culture of New York, so through Nixon implemented the Rockefeller drug laws as a false flag for aiding their homes, as a Nixon aide reported.
And opted for policies of punishment.
We have more people incarcerated today in prison just for drug crimes than all of the people incarcerated in the year 1980.
But recently, a 1994 quote from an aide to President Nixon has surfaced, claiming that the war on drugs had everything to do with race and politics. The Nixon campaign in 1968 and the Nixon White House after that had 2 enemies: the anti-war left and black people. We knew we couldn't make it illegal to be either against the war or black, but by getting the public to associate the hippies with marijuana and blacks with heroin, and then criminalizing both heavily, we could disrupt those communities.
Nelson Rockefeller also invented PSYOPs.
They are historic. BBC Radio calls them amazing. And they were, because the entire event was staged. Years after the operation, a U.S. Army report admitted that the toppling of the Saddam statue had been engineered by a psychological operations group. The document states, "Our TPT, or Tactical PSYOP team, saw the statue as a target of opportunity."
He also made the CHUA, pre-CIA PSYOPs, and that sort of initiative carried into George Bush Sr.'s team be a meaner version of the CIA that didn't worry about laws.
I need the description. Yep. That's him. He'll be wearing a blue shirt with the words ACLU on the
Through
front.
such incentives as being replaced, the CIA is not a very morally bound agency now. Which is why they tipped off joint venture Mossad to the Foreign Intelligence Surveilling Congress, giving the Yuan brothers time to smash their computers and make a run for it. Nelson Rockefeller also bought the Welch's company at 50 times its price to hire the proponent John Birch Society to create controlled opposition. John Birch, a 32nd-degree Mason, put the true danger of the Trilateral Commission and the CFR together with the Masonic Illuminati and Satanism. People seeking the truth looked to the John Birch Society, and thus began tales of the Illuminati, which could be easily debunked, simply the wrong name for a very real and present elite conspiracy. While making controlled opposition to debunk researchers, he also created something else in America. All the martial laws that allow for a complete government takeover of everything functioning in the US by executive decision.
What's more chilling than coordinated domestic raid training is that official reports state that live ordnance and gunfire will be employed. To top it off, the media has been restricted from any kind of embedded reporting to provide transparency for the drills.
While domestic takeover drills are being conducted, the world dominance continues through the Rockefeller Brothers Fund backing the Aspen Institute, run by the CEO of Super Fake News CNN. Look familiar? Hillary Clinton rallies during the 2016 Democratic primaries were done in the same fashion, which is pushing for Agenda 21.
The Johannesburg Plan of Implementation, agreed at the World Summit on Sustainable Development, Earth Summit 2002, affirmed UN commitment to full implementation of Agenda 21.
The Rockefeller Fund, which created and backed Nazi eugenics, changed its policy to crypto eugenics and Europe Council on Eugenics in 1960. They created food additives like Ossipol to sterilize populations.
Now, this is one of several plans. It has not yet seen the light of day, but it is there. It's in readiness. You choose the poison. It's either slow homicide or slow suicide. They're either going to kill you with the injection, or if you go up and say, sure, I just want to be able to go wherever I want to go, and you take it, to me, that's virtual suicide.
They also started the trend of transfusing the blood of the young into the rich, a trend which has re-emerged in Silicon Valley.
The body and keeps it young. And as an organism ages, they lose the ability to make this molecule. Other studies show that there's really something powerful about young blood. Other studies, like one published in journal Nature Medicine, found that young blood recharged the brains of older mice.
The Rockefeller Fund is an investment fund which invests a portion into public works as a tax haven. The Federal Reserve notes we now have instead of real capital are Rockefeller created.
The Fed creates money from nothing, loans that money to the U.S., and then charges interest on that money. What this means is that there is never and will never be enough money in circulation or in existence to pay back that debt. We as a country, as well as private citizens, are forever enslaved by debt with no way of ever paying it off.
The Rockefeller Fund backs every evil economic and military institution, like the Rand Corporation.
A massive computer connected to a stockpile of hydrogen bombs. When the computer sensed imminent and intolerable danger from a Soviet attack, it would detonate the bombs and cover the planet with radiation fallout and billions of dead. No one laughed, except for Stanley Kubrick, whose 1964 dark comedy Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb, parodied Khan's doomsday device.
And most sinisterly, the Rockefeller eugenics agenda includes a series of patented diseases.
The New World Order emerged from the shadows, and the state religion of population control became an all-out war against the individual and family.
Like their Rockefeller patented Zika virus.
Well, that's funny because they're behind the Zika virus, and here's their website right here. So, going back to this article, well, who is funding these two organizations? Because the partnership, this is what they do. Who owns the patent to the virus? The Rockefeller Foundation.
Begin to a docs for a closer look at how the deep state operates. We never forgive. We never forget. Expect us.